The inequality is rather stark when it comes to funding for entrepreneurs, and we're talking about the difference between what male entrepreneurs get as opposed to what female entrepreneurs seem to be getting. Now, in this survey that has been done in the Mastercard Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2021, India has performed as one of the worst ranked in progress of women in business. In fact, India has performed worse than poorer countries. Compared to Nigeria and Uganda, India is doing worse in terms of score. In fact, India has gone down. It's scoring just 40.5 in 2021 in that index. And this index, mind you, calculates rankings based on several factors. It includes societal disadvantages, it includes credit availability, funding inequality, several other parameters on which this index is based. So on the show, we're going to have a discussion about it with Shark Vineeta Singh, the CEO and co-founder of Sugar Cosmetics, is joining us on the show. And so is Dipika Jaikrishan, and she's the co-founder and COO of Basis. But before we go across to them, let's just put together this entire index that has come out. Kavita, my colleague, is here to break down the numbers for us and what emerges as the details that we want to discuss now. Kavita.
India has consistently let down its women entrepreneurs. Now, why I am saying this, I'll tell you later. Now, promoting women's participation in entrepreneurial activities is essential for the country, especially with the sharp decline in female employment since the pandemic. The female labor force participation rate among urban women has fallen to 7% in 2021, and 22 shows the recent data by Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. Now, according to the Mastercard Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2021, which actually looks at the progress of women in business, India was among the lowest ranked in the world at 57th position among 65 countries. Now, the problem clearly mentioned was well-intentioned policies have fallen short. About 58% of female entrepreneurs in India who start businesses between the age of 20 and 30 years rely on self-financing, largely their savings or inherited assets or physical property that can be mortgaged. Also, women-led enterprises or women-owned enterprises are perceived to be risky, and the rejection rate of loan applications from women entrepreneurs is higher in the developing world. So overall, the problem which has been highlighted in this report is that the factors which are responsible for accelerating the growth of women entrepreneurs in India have fallen short. There are less favorable factors in such economies.
Why is that the case? And that's what we want to discuss with both Vineeta and Dipika, both of them joining us. Vineeta, of course, a very familiar face from Shark Tank. Let me begin by going across to you. Vineeta, even though India is home to so many unicorn startups, more than 100 unicorn startups have their home here, a lot of women entrepreneurs, they're still struggling. They're struggling to find the right framework, the right support system to grow, to sustain businesses. Why do you think that's the case?
Hi, Vikram. Thank you so much for having me on the show. You're right. While about 20 to 25% of businesses in India are run by women, less than 2% of them actually are able to raise any capital. And I think there are, like Kavita mentioned, the whole participation of women workforce is declining as well. And these factors are all related because it boils back to the whole, conditioning while growing up, as well as support that women are able to get at their homes. I think the other reasons that I've primarily come across, and I've faced biases myself in my entire fundraising journey, although I think in the last 3-4 years, things have really improved and come a long way. I think firstly, there is a lot of the decision making is still controlled by men, and which means that the kind of companies they want to invest in are more related to categories that they can relate with, as well as the kind of founders that VCs want to invest in are a specific type of alpha ambitious characters, which sometimes women are not. And I do feel that boils down to the bias in the decision making. Apart from that, of course, I think there is definitely a structural lack of access. And while there are certain policies, I think some of the amazing initiatives like SIDBI's Fund of Funds, which is several $1,000 thousands of crores. They do not have a clear mandate of supporting more women entrepreneurs. So as women, we struggle with equity as well as debt fundraising. And I think that, the number of women founders should go to about a 30 to 40% over the next decade. And hopefully, we'll have a similar ratio in terms of the number of women getting funded as well, because without access to capital, it's hard to scale and build these
how do you
large
grow a
enterprises.
business if you don't get access to funds? You're absolutely right about that, Vineeta. And come in on this, Dipika, Jaikrishan, right from getting the product right, testing the waters, any new business actually needs to have enough in its kitty to last at least the first few turbulent years. You need to have that kitty. A major problem for women startup founders is getting that access to that initial period of funding. Why is access to funds, in your opinion, different for male entrepreneurs when it comes to that comparison that we are making? Because female entrepreneurs don't seem to have that kind of access. Why is that?
I think it's like Vineeta was saying, right? It's so cultural. Even so, we are two women founders, right? It's also a lot harder when it's just women founders at the table, across the table, talking to a bunch of bros. I'm going to say bros here because literally that's what it is, the investing world. It's really hard because they don't ask us. Sometimes they've asked us these questions. They don't ask us, but what's on their mind is probably, oh, when is she going to have a child? She's going to take a break. Both of them are going to take a break. And then, who's going to run the company in their absence? And we get to know, and these news travel, right? And you get to know this is what they were thinking, and which is why they passed on your deal. Unfortunately, these things happen. Beyond that, the doubt around women is a lot more. The broader ecosystem is not very supportive. What's happening, though, is now there are incredible women founder groups where we're like supporting and rooting for each other, but that's not happening so much with say male counterparts, where we're all on this amazing group and we're meeting as often and discussing business, right? Things are changing, like Vineeta said, in the next decade or so, this is going to look very, very, very different from where it is now. But right now, the questions that are asked to women are very different. Even when we go for like funding rounds and when we're having some of these discussions with our current investors, they actually come to us and they're like, this question would have never been asked to a male. This question or this like number that you were sharing, they would have really overlooked this number if it was a bunch of men who were running that company. But because it's women, the questions are a lot harder. The questions are a lot more. There's a lot more like microscopic view on everything that you're trying to do. Yes, there is a change.
Why are the tougher questions, Dipika, why are the tougher questions being asked to women? Help us understand that.
Because they're women. We haven't been doing this for as many years as men have been doing it. And what's funny is that when you actually talk to investors who've been backing women, for instance, I'm sure if you talk to like investors who've been backing sugar, they really have this approach like, if you want to get shit done, you need a woman on board. You need a woman founder, because Indian women can literally do anything. And that's true. I'm a new mom. I have a 7-week-old and we're having this chat right now. And yeah, we can just get shit done. But that's not, I mean, it's true for men as well. Women haven't been as obvious as entrepreneurs, as people who've been running. We haven't had the backing, like you were saying earlier, right, Vikram? There hasn't been credit which has been given to women. Debt funding even is much harder for us. We don't have credit histories. Even we want to access loans, we don't have credit histories because guess what? Our families have conditioned us to think that debt is bad. You don't need to borrow money. You're running into trouble. Like you're inviting trouble for yourself. But that's changing. And say platforms like Basis are changing those conversations as well.
No, all these points are well taken, and I understand this from what both of you are saying. This is a layered problem. It holds everything: access to funds, the socioeconomic status, cultural outlook, all of that. And then there are the traditional gender roles. Both of you have spoken about it. Women are expected to put families first. They are expected to multitask. They are expected to excel at everything when it comes to the home front. So, Vineeta, tell me, how difficult was it on that count? Because, yes, Dipika just told us she's a new mom and she's had her own set of problems. Congratulations, of course, Dipika. Vineeta, how was your journey on this count?
Yeah. Congratulations, Dipika. I'm also a mother of 2 kids, but I'm one of the privileged ones who's had a lot of support. But the data says that in India, the domestic participation is so skewed that women put in 6 times more hours in a day than men in domestic chores. And the surprising part is that this includes educated women, this includes women who are working, this includes women who are entrepreneurs. Now, just imagine, like, there's a certain amount of bandwidth that one has in a day. And if you're putting in 6 hours compared to 1 hour that your better half is putting, you'll just have so much physical and mental bandwidth available to invest in your business or in your career. So I feel that, the starting point is at home. I've been very lucky because I think my spouse puts in 50%, and, without that load sharing, and, that's really, I'm one of the rare people with that privilege. It would have been impossible to come this far. That's why I feel that the biggest partnership that is required to solve this in the long run is of men, not just in decision-making positions, but at home. Because without that, all other stuff we are doing in our organizations and the government is not going to change anything, because we'll still be doing the heavy lifting at home.
So the major heavy lifting at home is something that most women have to contend with. I also understand the networking problem, and both of you have spoken about it too. Dipika, a majority of industries, especially in India, being male-dominated, of course, you talk about how important it is to get your idea right, getting your product right, but a lot depends on the right kind of networking as well. Now, is that a challenge, you think?
It definitely is a challenge, Vikram, but I'm just going to, I have a slightly different approach to this. I think if you don't ask for help, you're not going to get it. There is so much self-doubt and there's so much lack of confidence when a woman is trying to start a business, or even, has this idea that she wants to run by. Forget like a male counterpart, even with another woman, she's thinking 1,000 times before asking her. So I think that self-doubt needs to change more than anything. There are incredible networks. There is access, if not anything, like say a show like Shark Tank, right? It just brought out conversations about entrepreneurship so much. People want to talk about it. You feel privileged when you're talking about being an entrepreneur, talking to someone who's thinking of being an entrepreneur. But I think asking for help is not something we do as much as we should do. Ask for help, and if you have an idea, there are amazing, incredible founders. There are other women who want to help you, other men who want to help you even, right? Even if it's funding, like we were talking, things are changing. Sugar raised an incredible round very recently, was in the news. And that doesn't happen sitting at home, not asking for help, not asking for access, right? While you're building an amazing business, it's also important to start networking, start small. You don't have to land up in this like meetup happening in Bangalore in like a 5-star hotel. Start small with like building a network of 3 or 5 people who you lean on, and that really compounds and grows over time.
So networking is one of the keys, and of course we've always heard the cliche that when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and we know women can be really tough, and we've seen women like yourselves who've come up and we've seen you flourish as well. Good luck going ahead on this journey. We'll keep tracking. We'll keep talking about it. We'll keep bringing up this issue about, at least as far as the funding is concerned, because that is a major support as far as businesses go, at least the first few years. Thank you so much, both, for joining us and giving us perspective on what seems to be a problem right now, but we're sure it's not going to be for a long time.